This is about one of the biggest things in our lives. So to start the story right, we had visitors yesterday, our godparents. And they're a married couple and have a child around 8 years old. And we dearly love them. And they told us that they are most probably gonna get divorced. It's a surprise and it's not a surprise. I don't really know. But the fact remains that I have yet to see a couple with children that will grow old together in a happy relationship. I just haven't. And it's not encouraging at all. Since I was little, I got curious because of this, as I saw my parents fighting a lot, and they had a very strange relationship. And I just realized that I don't see the point in them being together. And I thought, okay, maybe that's just my parents. Maybe they're just weird. Maybe it's just a bad fit. And then I started looking outside. I saw families from my best friends. And it wasn't better. Dude, it's so crazy. I don't know if it's because times are changing or was it always like this, but marriage just doesn't seem to work out. I don't know. Long-term relationships just crumble. And it's basically very, very similar. It's always very similar. Like at first they love each other and then they get married, they have a child or multiple children, and then the relationship just grows cold. And grudges just start to accumulate step by step. Things you don't speak about start to split the couple. And yeah, after some years of just growing apart, you just don't see the sense anymore in being together, even if you have children. That's also maybe another thing for another moment, that is it worth it to stay together for the children, or is it just theatricals and maybe even teaching the children wrong behavior and wrong everything, wrong things about love, about a couple, about passion, who knows? But let's go back to just the couple in itself. Now, me and my wife, we have a pretty long relationship. We've been together for over 11 years, like as a couple, and we knew each other as friends from some years even before that. So we have a little bit of history together. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't always easy. But that's a good thing. I see that as stepping stones to understanding each other better, understanding oneself better. And of course, after some years together, you start getting asked by other people, like, are you gonna get married? And this was a tough point for me, as I told before, I never really saw the point in marriage, as I had never seen a marriage that worked out fine, just like it's a losing game. And I don't want to play a losing game. But then again, it's such a crucial experience in a human life. Well, not necessarily, but it really is a crazy experience. So I thought, let's just give it a try. It doesn't have to be forever, but let's just see. Let's just take a look at how it is. And I'm telling you, it's 100% worth it in my opinion. It's so crazy. It's just, it affects your relationship and it changes things, but very subliminal, at least in our relationship. Like most people say, which knew each other a couple of years before getting married, that nothing really changes. And that's true in a way, but it's also not true. As she told me at least that finally she has the feeling that we're together for real. And I understand her. Like if you're just boyfriend and girlfriend, then you just wake up one day and say, okay, I'm just gonna go. And you live with this fear of commitment. You're not 100% committed because you know that the other one can just leave. And don't get me wrong, it's the same in a marriage. It's actually exactly what happened to our godparents, which is crazy, but that's how life works. And still, it's different. Still you have this feeling that this person is really gonna try and be with you. Maybe it's just illusion, but it still affects one. And the whole preparation, the whole wedding, the whole ceremonies, the families gathering, it's a very stressful thing. It's this very, very stressful experience, at least in my experience. And I don't want to do it a second time. No way. But having this one experience with your partner where you just have to organize this big thing and you just have to do so many things and decide on so many topics and make it work it out, talk about decorations, talk about invitations, talk about this and that. It's just for the couple. It's such a strong experience. And I just loved it for us. So that's why, in my opinion, it's really worth it to give it a try. Even if you know that it might not work out. And I guess that's just how life is, really. I guess that's just how life is, really. You can't just do something and like get married and expect for the partner to stay with you forever. And you can't expect loyalty from them forever. It's just having expectations. It's just so disappointing. Even if it's so easy and normal to have them, it makes life much harder. So yeah. That's how it is. And you know, I've always been kind of afraid of this whole long-term relationship stuff. I remember when I was young, I was 100% sure, well, I still am young, but when I was younger, I was 100% sure that this relationship is not gonna last. Like with my current wife. And it just kept us together. And there are so many steps that are just so important. And one of the biggest things, I think, is that we always wanted to make it work. Like, this is something that really kept it all going. No matter how hard the situation was, we both wanted to make it work. And that is so important. Like, if only one wants to make it work, it's a losing game. A relationship, yeah, it's just two people. If they want it, it can work. If they don't, then it doesn't. And to make a relationship work, I think that it requires a lot of honesty, a lot of truthfulness. But yeah, I don't want to give any advice. It's just my experience. It's just what I've come to notice about relationships. But that's not even the whole point about today. The thing about today is that I am just so, in a way, surprised, and in a way sad that we as community and as humanity and as everything haven't figured out relationships. I don't know if it's because times are changing. As I said before, everything is becoming way more individual. It's easier to survive by your own. Like, you don't have a farm to take care of, and you don't need like 8 children and a powerful wife to keep working the fields and stuff like that. Maybe it's that, who knows? But it remains a fact that most families don't work the way they're supposed to. And I don't understand that. Why do we keep playing this game? Why do we keep getting married and keep breaking up and it's just not working? Maybe nobody expects it to work. Maybe it was just my wrong understanding of the whole thing. Maybe it's not even supposed to work anymore. And everybody's just doing it for the experience, for the photos. I don't know. And now comes the big part. What about the children? What about the children? Like, this is where I struggle, okay? Because let's say, well, I got married, okay? And at some point one of us decides, okay, I had enough. Let's just split ways. And everybody's just, yeah, okay. Maybe we have a couple of fights. Maybe we understand that. Maybe we get along after that. Maybe we don't. Anyway, we just split. Whoop. But now let's say you have children. You have 1 child, 2 children, whatever. What do you do? It isn't that simple anymore. It gets way more complicated. So a lot of people decide to just stay together for the children. Stay together for the children. And what happens is basically what happened in my case with my parents. They, I think, stayed together for me. And it created a lot of cringiness. They were living 2 separate lives, trying to look like we were a family, but it just wasn't. We went on vacations together, we ate together, We did certain things together, but I just felt that my parents just don't get along. And all their frustration kind of affected me. I felt it. I felt their frustration. I felt them being unhappy. I felt them being closed off emotionally. And I don't blame them, okay? So this is an important part. I am actually very, very grateful for the way everything happened. I am very grateful for them and the way they reacted and everything, because it gave me the opportunity to question myself, to question life, to question this exact moment. And I think that's a nice thing. I see this as valuable. So yeah. But still, my parents got divorced when I was already an adult, I'd say. I was in university. And it affected me a little because they divorced in a legendary fight. But I think it affects you way stronger when you're little. Because I remember very well how I had this image in my head when I was little that family has to be together. I don't know where from or why even, but that was just the thing I had. I always wanted to connect my parents. I always felt like I was the link between them, and that was my job. I was there to keep them together. Until I realized that it isn't necessarily better. It's a weird thing now when I think about it. I don't know. I don't think it should be a child should see it as his or her reason to, or his or her job to keep the parents together. That doesn't quite feel right. I think that the focus should be on the relationship between them. As I said before, a child will just copy what it sees. And I think the focus should be on an honest and real relationship. If it works out, then amazing. And if it does not, then let's not pretend. Because children aren't stupid. Well, they are in a way, but not in this way. They're very sensitive. They pick things up. And they're also very, very sensible when it comes to their parents fighting and everything. So, yeah. Just having an honest relationship is probably for the best. Who knows, you know? There are so many situations, who knows? It's not something you can generally just say. It's so different. I'm just trying to understand how it affected me, the way I was raised, the way my parents behaved with one another. And you see, in a way, it caused a lot of suffering for me. But also, in another way, this suffering is what made me who I am. And I like who I am. Life is just so weird. You know how out of the worst situations, some beautiful things can emerge. Like how a forest sometimes needs to burn down to just regrow, and how some seeds just await this fire. Sometimes I feel like it's much larger, like everything is much larger than we think. It's also just so natural to feel like you're guilty or you're wrong. Yesterday, my godparents, when they told us that they're gonna get probably divorced, they cried. Tears were flowing. And I just felt this deep pain and this guilt of being unable to make it right, of being afraid to cause more suffering. And this deep, deep guilt of just being wrong, of just being weak. And honestly, it's just so normal for us humans to experience it. We don't get it right always, not even close. But that's not bad. You're not weak, you're not bad, you're not guilty for not being able to do something the way it's, I don't know, the way you think is right or the way you think is expected. I just saw this guilt eating at them. It's also very transformative. That's the good part of it, right? When you feel intense pain, when you suffer, you usually are more encouraged to change. And it's a good thing because things are always changing. We just don't see it or don't want to see it. So when we have moments of intense suffering and pain, I feel like we get this opportunity to open ourselves up to the world in new ways. And I just saw it so many times, including with my mother. My mother was like, I would have called her very, very, very far from wise before she divorced my dad. She was just in her bubble. And then the pain and the suffering of finding out various things about my dad. Not gonna talk about that right now. It just, it almost ended her. But in this ending, she found a new beginning by understanding that there is no other real way. You can't just ignore it. You can't just move on and forget about it. You get the chance to work with it. And by doing exactly that, she became so different. She became so wise. So in this case, she managed to use a very, very bad situation to emerge wiser, more beautiful, freer. Yeah, like a phoenix out of the ashes. Well, what can you do? Thank you for listening. Have a great day and enjoy life.